Hello. Today we are going over the birth chart of Marilyn Monroe. So I have been loving doing these. We are looking at well-known celebrities. We're pulling up their birth chart and I'm going through their life path, their astrology chart according to their life path. So one, you can see how I would read a birth chart. Maybe if you've been on the fence getting your birth chart read. The second part is like we can look and see, are they following their life path and what are the struggles that they've had to overcome. So with that said, I'm going to share my screen. So Marilyn Monroe was born in 1926. I recently went down the rabbit hole of Marilyn Monroe and I love her story. If you don't know about how she grew up, I think you should go read it. It's very inspiring how she went from a place where she was very unwanted. Her mom and her grandma was in mental institutions and she really couldn't find her place. And then she ended up being this mega star. She really made something of herself when the early parts of her life weren't all butterflies and roses. So very inspiring story. So let's get into her life path. So she was a Gemini. She has a sun in Gemini in her 10th house. So Gemini is intellectual, they're social, they are a little bit playful, they rule over communication. They love to learn. They're probably a little bit of a bookworm. And what we know about Marilyn Monroe is she was very well read. Even though the part she played on screen did not portray that, but all of the books that all the documentaries that are out there does talk about she was always learning something, she was always studying something, and she just loved to learn. So that was very Gemini. And she had her moon in Aquarius. So Aquarius is the rebel. This is like her emotional world, her inner world. This also has to do with your motivation. So very social. I mean, with her sun in Gemini, her moon in Aquarius, she was a very social person. She has her rising sign in the sign of Leo. So this is how other people see you. It's also the problem you solve. So Leo is the performer. Leo is the showman. They're all about, they love to be on stage. They're a natural born leader. They love to be the center of attention. So, I mean, I would say definitely, Marilyn definitely fit that role. She definitely fit that role of being on stage, being very comfortable in front of the public eye. So, and if you can see here, she has most of her planets in the top part of the chart, which tells me it was very much in the public eye. She learned a lot of her lessons very publicly. Her north node was in the sign of Cancer. So this is interesting in the 12th house. Okay, so your south node is a direct opposite of the north node, And so she would have had her south node in the sign of Capricorn. She was naturally ambitious, um, driven by success, um, a leader, not afraid to work to climb the ladder. These are some things that just come natural to her. However, in her life path, when it comes to her life path, it would have suited her to follow the opposite, to become that mother archetype. Not necessarily that she is a mother, although we do know that she wanted children and she never had those. So with it here in the 12th house, I would almost say that was a limiting belief. Like she felt like she didn't deserve children. She didn't deserve to be a mother. When you have your North Node in Cancer, a big part of your journey and your life path is learning how to balance work and home life, work life and family life. And I do know she poured herself into her work. I'm not so sure she had mastered that. And she did have addictions. And, you know, 12th house is known for addictions, as well as Capricorn is the workhorse. They have a tendency to overwork themselves. So, and then, yeah, so overwork themselves. So I would say like she probably was addicted to work even. So her Chiron. So your life purpose has to do with your rising sign, which she had in Leo, your North Node, which she had in Cancer, and Chiron. And she has it at 0 degrees Taurus. Chiron and Taurus. Taurus loves their comforts. They're ruled by Venus, which represents value. Oftentimes when you have Chiron and Taurus, you often don't know your value, or you have some self-worth issues, issues around money and emotional eating. So that's interesting that she had that there. One thing I do find interesting about her chart is she has Venus in Aries. Now, Venus is all things we value, things we love. She rules over love and beauty. And with Venus in Aries, Aries is the very first sign of the zodiac. They're very passionate, they're very competitive. They are the innovator, they are the one that are willing to go first. And actually, they want to be first. Not necessarily they're willing to go first, but they actually want to be first. They want to be the first one that could do it. They want to be, if they're in a race, they want to win all the time. So with Venus in Aries, like she wanted to be number one. She wanted to be very well known in her work, and she wanted to be like the one and only. And so I think that she accomplished that. And also, I think Venus in Aries, we do know Marilyn Monroe, like she was the first cover girl on Playboy in a time when that was just very taboo, and that was just not something you did, especially as a woman. And so Venus in Aries, I would definitely say that that was representative of that Venus in Aries there. Jupiter in their 7th house in the sign of Aquarius. So this is interesting because everything I've read about Marilyn Monroe, she had a lot of love interests. She had a lot of men who were willing to help her out in the showbiz industry, for a little bit of payback. So Aquarius is all about collaboration, and the 7th house has to do with relationships. Ruled by Libra has to do with love. And so with her moon here also, I would say like she just wanted to be loved. She just wanted to be loved. That was, your moon has to do with, also could be like wounds and ancestral wounds. So I would say Jupiter is the planet of luck and expansion. So she used relationships and collaborations. You get what you want, I get what I want. And she used that to expand in her career. So that's interesting that that's there. So let's look at Saturn, and then we'll look at her 12th house. Saturn is here in the 4th house in the sign of Scorpio. Saturn represents the father figure. The 4th house is the house of home. So if you have anything if you have a Saturn or your moon, because the moon represents the mother, Saturn represents the father. If you have it here in the 4th house, it could represent wounds around your mother or father. And Marilyn Monroe didn't know who her father was. Saturn in Scorpios, this also, when it comes to the life path, we look at Saturn as this is here to teach us hard lessons usually. And in the sign of Scorpio, that Scorpio's deep, it's intimate, it's dark, Scorpio loves to get to the root. And we do know she had addictions. And so I think if she would have been willing to get to the root of her addictions and heal from the root, family issues, I think that's what Saturn in Scorpio would have liked, especially here in the 4th house. And then let's move around to the 12th house. Your 12th house has to do with your limiting beliefs, your karmic debt, the subconscious mind. And we talked a little bit about her North Node here. Here is where you want to look at the shadows of whatever sign is here. So the shadows of Cancer, very sensitive. They like to crawl into their crab shell. They're very giving. They give to everyone else, but they're not so good at taking care of themselves. So I would say some nurturing needs to take place here in order to heal some of these karmic debts that she had. I would say she needed to learn how to self-nurture, especially since she didn't have a good, strong mother figure. or a stable one at that. She had different mother figures in her life, but her own mother was in a mental institution and wasn't super active in her life. So she also has Leo here. So it looks like she needed to work through some of the shadows of Leo, which is ego, pride, arrogance. So there we have it. That is Marilyn Monroe's birth chart and according to her life path. So let me know what you think. Do you think she was living according to her life path? Um, how could she have done things a little better?